Hello, Dr. Brett Spradlin here at Divine Design Natural Health, and we are talking about stress, the death cascade, and we have a rowdy audience. Every week, they get rowdier every week, I'm telling you. All right, so here, let's just get right into this because we don't have any time to waste. This is a barn burner. This is a scorcher. These current events that we're talking about here, just in the last couple weeks. Check this out. This is nuts. Current events. I refuse to believe the words of psychotic political criminals with rotten fruit who cannot even manage their own families, let alone a nation or an economy. Everything you're hearing out there. That's the definition of conspiracy theorists or critical thinkers these days. Just to remind you, truthers are the opposite of liars. In the very first paragraph, I'm just going to let you know where we stand. Next. Terrorists are now those who believe the election was rigged, those who oppose government overreach, and those who resist mandates. Anybody who says that the narrative might be a little skewed or that we're not getting the right facts, now you're a terrorist. Next. Your immune system starts with your eyes and your brain. That's why the media is conspiring so psychotically against you with sounds and images of fear and lies. What are we talking about today? Stress, right? Stress, the death cascade. Next. In merely 9 months, this was an observation I made the other day I could not believe. I've heard of more secondhand cumulative deaths than in my combined clinical history of nearly 10 years. I've been doing this now almost 10 years. And I've heard of, somebody's distant relative dying. We've never really had a patient that died 10 years, which is unheard of for a doctor's office. But what I've really been hearing a lot about is people's sisters, people's brothers, people's moms, dads, cousins, aunts, uncles, like never before, just in the last 9 months. What happened in the last 9 months? Next. After the events of the last few weeks, I no longer, as our phones ring off the hook, have to convince people that the medical and political systems are corrupt. That was a big game changer for me. How many of you already knew that? Hands go up across the room. Next. Big tech billionaires are making money pushing a pandemic while censoring those who tell the truth for free at the sure expense of their reputations, licenses, and livelihoods. People have been delicensed, debarred, if that's the proper terminology. They've been deplatformed. They've been censored, including ourselves, from just a few weeks ago. We got our YouTube channel shut down with a whopping 200 subscribers, and they came for us. So just ask yourselves, 200 subscribers. We started our YouTube channel about a year ago. 200 subscribers, maybe 10, 20, 25,000 views, maybe, estimating, and they took us down. So think about what they're going to do. Next. When was the last time you received something for free that was actually good for you? Really think about this. I'm explaining this to you so you can explain this to your family. You can save somebody's life. Next. The shots are free and available to everyone. You don't even need a prescription. Think about that. Next. We have to protect the most vulnerable means that we first must experiment upon the elderly, who are clearly the sickest, which means the most vulnerable. Isn't that interesting? Circular logic there. Next. And the only thing that becomes immune when you get a shot is the vaccine company to any damages. Next. The companies that can't be sued are giving you free products because they're so incredibly good for you. Wonderful. It's a built-in income source for these companies. If the goods and services that I sold work like those in the military industrial pharma cartel, then I'd be sued senseless and you would never hear the end of it on social media or news media. Think about it. Should we shame the overweight people, the drugged zombies who believe the media, like we are shamed for not accepting an experimental bioweapon? You've seen all the shaming. This is the real deal, folks. I know it's not comfortable, but you know what? Out there, it's not comfortable. People are losing their jobs, people are losing their families, people are losing their minds. So we got to talk about this. The reason that it's not being talked about is because people have been programmed for decades to not talk about two things around the dinner table and with relatives. What are those two things? You all know it. The reason this is happening is because nobody's talking about politics and religion. Next. Honesty and integrity speak for themselves along with tens of thousands of testimonials on this wall right out here. So you'll know them by their fruits. Go to your oncologist, go to your epidemiologist, go to your endocrinologist, see how many testimonials they have. Go to their Facebook page, go to their Google, see what's going on. See what their referrals are is a Blue Cross Blue Shield website that you go to punch in what insurance you have and how many miles you're willing to drive from the radius of your house. Next. But we have tens of thousands of testimonials. You will know them by their fruits, not by their words. Next, I will change your outlook right now and maybe save your life or your marriage or your retirement account in the process. Are y'all down for this? You ready? All right. Next. I'll sound the alarm, blow that trumpet while standing on the wall. Your response is not my responsibility. What I mean by that is I'm going to say stuff that may, everybody's a pancake lollipop nowadays. Or what's the term? Snowflake. Pancake lollipop. I like pancake lollipops better. If you need to go to your safe space, this isn't the place for you, because this is hardcore stuff. There are a lot of bad things happening to people out there, and the reason why is because nobody's confronted it, dealt with it, talked about why what's going on here is politics and religion, the very stuff that you've been indoctrinated to not talk about. So let's just get right into this. I want to show you something. Oh, and leave that there. I might use it. This might be difficult for you to see. This is a little chart that I'm going to run through. We're going to time myself. I'm going to basically show you how this works. This is super easy. You do not have to memorize this. What I'm going to do in a short 10 minutes is explain to you every disease, pretty much every disease known to man. There are some that won't be on here because, of course, there are hundreds of thousands of diseases. But the diseases themselves are in dark. This looks beautiful, by the way. Amanda worked on this today. I had this cluster of a chart, and she made it into this. It's beautiful. Beautiful. So thoughts, traumas, toxins, this is stress. I'm not going to get into it right. We're going to start the thing here in a minute, but I wanted to explain all the arrows and things that might be difficult for some of you to see back there. But we're going to do this first. We're going to run through this in 10 minutes. Then I'm going to talk to you about how this all happens. Then at the very end, we're going to review it, and I'm going to show you how this works in another 10 minutes at the very end of this. So you won't see this. You'll see this again. You won't have to be too familiar with this, but the diseases, all the conditions, the reasons people get diagnosed, the ICD and CPT codes for insurance companies, the reason you go to BlueCrossBlueShield.com and look for a specialist that's within 25 miles of your house is because of all the things in the black boxes, okay? GERD, ulcers, IBS, diverticulitis, diverticulosis, hypothyroid, diabetes 2, diabetes 1, we abbreviate things, Crohn's, ankylosing spondylitis, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus erythematoma, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. So all of the diseases, see in black, all of those boxes, that's why people go to doctors. So are we ready to run through this? We'll do this again at the end. And time me. Ready? And go. When you experience stress from thoughts, from traumas, from toxins, your epinephrine level goes up. Some people call that adrenaline. When your adrenaline goes up, your cortisol goes up, which is a stress hormone. When your cortisol goes up, your thyroid stimulating hormone goes down. This will increase your headaches and lead to hypothyroidism, which then leads to obesity, which then leads to depression. Depression leads back to obesity. Obesity leads to more depression. That's just one avenue. When you experience stress, this avenue up here is the decrease in the tone of involuntary sphincter muscles. In other words, when your sphincters that go from esophagus to stomach, stomach to small intestine to large intestine, when they're in a relaxed state, they're tight. When they're in an unrelaxed state, they're wide open. So when you experience stress, the tone of those involuntary sphincter muscles, they open up. What does that result in? Gastroesophageal reflux disease, where you have stomach contents coming back up into your esophagus. Ulcers of the esophageal, of the gastric, meaning stomach, or of the duodenal variety, meaning small intestine. So when these sphincters open up, GERD, ulcers, and then irritable bowel syndrome, or as it's called now, irritable bowel disease, which is chronic, unstopping, constipation, diarrhea, also themselves diseases that are not on this list. That IBS results in diverticulosis, a condition of the diverticulum, or diverticulitis, and inflammation of the diverticulum, which is a part of the large intestines. So that's another avenue. Now, when all of this is happening, your adrenaline goes up, your cortisol goes up, your thyroid hormone goes down. Well, when your cortisol goes up, your body is breaking down your fat reserves, called glycogen, into smaller chunks of glucose, which is going to raise your blood sugar. When your blood sugar goes up, it's going to affect your pancreas. You're going to get diagnosed with diabetes. Diabetes type 2 is going to lead to obesity, depression back to obesity. It's a never-ending circle right here. But as that blood glucose goes up, your body has to use B vitamins in order to process all these reactions. So when your B vitamins go down, all of a sudden you don't have any tryptophan, an amino acid, to make into serotonin, another amino acid, or another neurotransmitter. So that serotonin, you don't have any more serotonin. Serotonin increases your mood. You don't have any mood, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're depressed, you're anxious. If that cycle continues from tryptophan to serotonin to melatonin, if you don't have any tryptophan, you don't have any serotonin. If you don't have any serotonin, you don't have any melatonin. You don't have any melatonin, you can't sleep. Guess what you get diagnosed with? Insomnia. If you can't sleep, you're going to wake up with muscle pain, musculoskeletal pain. You're going to wake up with arthritis, inflammation of the joints, pain. You're also going to have frequent urination, and it's going to be just this constant cycle. Now, look at this. As your B vitamins go down in your body, decreased amount of Krebs cycle. Anyone in here who's ever taken biochemistry or any type of biology, Krebs cycle is what makes your energy. So when you don't have Krebs cycle happening, if you don't have any energy, you're going to be diagnosed with chronic fatigue, right? If you can't remove lactic acid from your muscle fibers, you're going to get fibromyalgia, fiber, myo, muscle, algia, pain. Pain of the muscle fibers, fibromyalgia. You're going to be diagnosed with that. Guess what? Drugs for life. Now, over on this side, right here, we're going to follow this right here. Cortisol goes up, cholesterol production goes down. If your cholesterol production goes down, guess what happens to all of your sex hormones? All your progesterone, your estrogen, your testosterone go down. If all those happen to a female, you can be diagnosed with infertility, any type of premenstrual syndrome, or amenorrhea, which means no period, or dysmenorrhea, which means difficult period. Another thing that women would experience with decreased amount of sex hormones would be something called miscarriage. All types of infertility disorders for female. Infertility disorders for males would be erectile dysfunction. So that's a whole separate multi-billion-dollar industry called Viagra and Cialis. All of these are multi-billion-dollar industries, by the way. Every one of these black boxes. Then continue down here, and if you don't create if your cholesterol production of your body, you've been taught cholesterol is a bad thing for you. Cholesterol is actually in every cell of your body. When your cortisol, when your stress level goes up, cortisol goes up, cholesterol goes down, your sex hormones go down, your antibody production goes down, because now all of your antibodies to be able to fight things off with your immune system come from progesterone and testosterone. So if you don't have progesterone and or testosterone, you will have decreased antibodies and you'll have certain susceptibilities to allergies and asthma, and the lining of your lungs will become inflamed. Speaking of inflammation, all of these diseases down here, from chronic inflammation, this is just a small smattering of examples that I will show you. When you experience chronic inflammation, which is swelling, heat, a loss of function in the organs of your body, redness, pain, you've all fallen down skin to knee, you've all hurt something. Uh-oh, what's happening? You've all hurt something in your body, and that part of your body, your elbow, got swelling, heat, a loss of function, redness, and pain, right? All of these diseases follow chronic inflammation, decreased function. Watch. Your body creates or ingests yeast, you get diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Your body ingests or somehow it gets into your bloodstream casein from commercial dairy milk, you get diagnosed as a young child with diabetes type 1. Even though you weren't born with the diabetes type 1, it's acquired at a later age. They tell you that it's genetic and that you were born with it. Incorrect. Gluten will react and create leaky gut syndrome in some people. Other doctors call it celiac disease. Celiac disease can be caused by gluten. Hashimoto's, another way of saying that is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or hyperthyroidism, or just straight thyroiditis. It depends on who asks and who tells. Depends on who's signing the papers. But these things right here, gluten, you've got an inflammation of these tissues, your thyroid and your gut. Here, large intestine tissue, if it's on the left side anatomically, it sloughs off the inner layer of your large intestine, and you bleed into the toilet. So it's called colitis, inflammation of the colon, but ulcerative, meaning it creates ulcers. So if it's on the left side of your large intestine, they diagnose you with ulcerative colitis. If it's on the right side of your colon, they diagnose you with Crohn's disease. See? Very important thing I want you to see. The location of the inflammation determines the name of the disease. That's all. All these autoimmune conditions, of which if you see our Evil Parents of Autoimmunity class, there's hundreds, 300 autoimmune conditions, and they're coming up with more all the time with different symptoms. Here's a small spattering. Ankylosing spondylitis, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, or they just call it lupus, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, scleroderma, psoriasis. Here, the inflammatory tissue is the spinal cord, the spinal column. Here, multiple sclerosis, the inflammatory tissue is your muscles and your nerves. Here, systemic lupus, it's your spleen, your liver, it's your skin. Here, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, it's your brain. Scleroderma, your skin. Psoriasis, your skin. So, just to review, how many minutes we got? Oh, I'm 2 minutes ahead. Increased stress increases all of these things. Stress comes from thoughts, traumas, or toxins. And thoughts, that would be the emotional side of things. Traumas, that would be the chemical side of things. And thoughts, traumas, and toxins. Thoughts would be the emotional side. Traumas would be the structural side, and toxins will be the chemical side. I'll show you the triune of health later on, and we'll review that. But all of this is to say that when your stress level goes up, your adrenaline goes up, your cortisol goes up, and all of these downward cascading things called stress, that I call the death cascade, contributes to all of this leading down here. Autoimmune stuff, regular immune stuff, stuff you never thought was anything related to a disease process is happening in your body. So here's the review. Increased stress leads to a decreased left brain. Left brain is your home of your immune function. Just remember that. Most of your immune function comes from your left brain. If your left brain goes down from increased stress, because you've got a right brain and a left brain, and they've got to be balanced, there's a positive and a negative, a black and a white, a day and a night, a sun and a moon, to everything. So if your brain is not balanced, you experience this cortical hemisphericity or neuronal imbalance. Left brain goes down, immune system in the left brain goes down, your chances of increased infections, colds, flus, and cancers goes way up. Your core temperature goes down, and blood to your upper and lower extremities goes down because all of your blood is being focused to your core. All diseases above affect women primarily due to right brain sympathetic nervous system. We talked about that a little while ago, how all of these diseases, women get all these black boxes, except ED. Women get a little more, but women live longer. Think about that. And done. How'd that sound? Did that make sense? We'll review. That's a lot of information, but that was a quick 10 minutes of probably the most truth you're ever going to hear about healthcare and about all of these diseases and where they come from. Did that all make sense? You don't need to know the names. You don't need to know the processes. And guess what? Neither do your doctors. Because how are they going to treat it? Well, there's a drug for allergies. There's a drug for insomnia. There's a drug for depression. There's a pill for every ill. And you are in the crappiest healthcare in the world. How do I know? Watch the news for 5 minutes. All right? So, what do you think of that? Did anybody learn anything from that? 10 minutes. Now, I'm going to explain to you the abysmal mess that we got into and how we handle all this nonsense. And then at the very end, I'm going to review all this, and you're going to get it. Cool? Does everybody have notes? If you're going to sit through something, you should probably, it would be great to write things down, because this might be some of the most vital information you will hear outside of a church sermon. So just think about that. Let's move on to the next thing. We'll come back. I don't know, just for me, if I sit down and I listen to something for an hour or two, I'm going to have something to walk out with in my hand that I can use practically. Anybody? Anybody want anything? Pass stuff around. There might be some interesting, life-saving things for you or your family. I see a lot of blank faces out there, nobody writing anything down. It always kind of blows me away. Given the complexity of the chart we just discussed, evaluate the lunacy of a doctor giving a patient a drug to disguise one of these many symptoms of dysfunction. That, my friends, is American healthcare right there. So here's the most common thing. Check this out. My doctor told me it's stress-related. Well, that narrows it down. What disease do you know of that's not stress-related? And by stress, understand, I'm not talking about just emotional stress, remember? You drink poison, that's a chemical stress. You fall down, you hurt your knee, that's a stress. There's stress that happens to the body, chemical, emotional, structural, every disease. So when your doctor says, oh, it's stress-related, what's he saying? He says, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. And he's putting it on you, like, oh, you're probably just under a lot of emotional stress. That's what he's saying. Does that right? Amen, right? That's what's happening. Next. So here are the questions you get. What about the disease I have and that there are only 2 specialists on the entire continent that can treat it? I've heard this so many times. Well, I'm going to this one specialist. He's the only one in the southeast of the whole United States that understands that disease. Does that sound like lunacy to you? You've got one person in the entire United States, southeast United States, that understands that disease. That doesn't make sense. That tells me that, well, we have a little quote here coming up, but keep listening. If you want to understand why you don't need why your specialist may not be special anymore, keep listening. A specialist, B.J. Palmer said this, is someone who knows more and more about less and less until he knows everything about nothing. B.J. Palmer was the son of the discoverer of chiropractic. B.J. Palmer was the developer of chiropractic. His father discovered it and he developed it. Do you have a supplement for XYZ? Our phones are ringing off the hook right now. Why? Because people are realizing what's going on with the sinking ship of healthcare, and they're saying, you know, I've been on this Synthroid since 1987. It's not doing anything for me. I still feel like crap. So our phones have been ringing off the hook lately. I don't know what it is. Phones have been ringing off the hook with people saying, well, do you have a supplement that can replace my Synthroid? Honey bunny, it don't work like that. I hate to tell you. So do you have a supplement? You'll see by the end of this presentation why it doesn't work like that. Next. Can you treat patients with XYZ condition? Yes, we can. How do you treat them? Like family. Because guess what? I ain't going to put you on any drugs. I'm only going to put you on stuff that my mom, dad, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, cousins are on. And we're going to do the same thing with you that I do personally, privately, in my own life with myself and my wife and everyone who works here and their families. Your oncologist and your endocrinologist don't do that, I can assure you. Next, please. So, Stress to Death Cascade. Here, we have our first commercial break with the lovely and talented Amanda. Welcome her up. Quick commercial break. Right on.
All right, guys, I've got an awesome testimonial here. She says, I was having headaches on a regular basis, ones that would last roughly 3 days. So that's pretty intense headache. The things I've noticed the most since coming to Dr. Spradlin is that I have no more headaches and no more fatigue. I barely had enough energy to do what was necessary each day, typically only a certain number of hours each day to complete tasks before I was done. Now I have enough energy all day, even into the evenings. So, life changer.
Right on. Life changer. Big deal. 3-day long headaches. Never had one of those. Fatigue. Was it on that list? Headaches. Was it on that list? So let's check this out. Let me see if I understand this correctly. There's more enforcement to enter a restaurant than there is to enter the country? Seriously. We ain't bowing down to this. Next. Ask your local doctor how they're testing for the Delta variant and watch them squirm. Here's the truth. They don't have a test for that. A test that tests for the Delta variant. It doesn't exist. Some people in this room work in medical offices. Half of my practice is nurses and other medical people. They use the PCR test, you know, the same one that was just issued a class 1 recall from the CDC because it can't tell the difference between a cold, the flu, or Rona. Think about that. We have been preaching this since March 13th of last year. We have been preaching a year and a half. We've been every Monday night, practically every Monday night, telling people that this is completely not what you're being told. And I hate to say I told you so, but here we are. Next. Does it provide immunity? Only for the manufacturer, darling. Listen, everybody, something's not right. Please turn back. And you've got this guy. Shut up, idiot. Do as they say for the common good. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a things aren't adding up, and it's pretty obvious theorist. Yep. Isn't that great? Here's why. We covered this before. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. But people, you're having a hard time talking to Aunt Sally and Uncle Ben over at, Thanksgiving and having family get-togethers. Oh, Aunt Sally, she's a nurse at the local hospital, and Uncle Ben, he works in the supermarket and stuff, and he sees sick people all the time. Well, think about it. You can't get along. Some of these people, they're asking me, how do I talk to my friends? How do I talk to my family? My husband, he got the shot. Well, he's been sitting in front of CNN for 6 hours a night getting indoctrinated by a government mind control device. On top of that, they've been drinking tap water, fluoridated, with a mind control substance that Hitler used in World War II to keep the Jewish people docile and infertile. Fluoride has been used in American drinking water since 1959. I teach whole classes on that topic as well. People are medicated, as you'll see through, we're going to show you some medication on this one, darling. People are medicated, then they get vaccinated. Do you think that changes their mental stamina? You think that changes the chemistry of their blood? If life is in the blood, according to the Bible, and medication and vaccine poisons the blood, guess what that tells me about whose job description do those two things come from? Guess who's behind those? Life is in the blood, but the only way that medicine and vaccination work by poisoning your blood. That's how they work. People are glyphosated. Anyone in this room know what glyphosate is? Anyone? 5 people? Glyphosate. It's what's sprayed on all your food. That's the herbicide from Roundup, from Monsanto, Roundup. So it's, the ingestion of glyphosate actually is the exact same symptoms as the Rona. Interesting, isn't it? Cosmeticated, people are wearing crap on their faces, their heads. We talked about that 2 weeks ago in the women's class. Food sedated, we talked about that about a month ago in the food what do I eat class. If you want to really understand how you're being poisoned slowly and you're paying for it. So not only are you eating horrible nutrition, you're eating, so you're not growing your body, you're also poisoning yourself. It's a double whammy and you're paying for it. And you're tricked to think, oh, I just can't afford good food. Organic food is so expensive. How many times have you heard that? No, chemotherapy is expensive. Chemotherapy is expensive. And then people are irradiated. Not only do they take their food and stick it in a nuclear device called a microwave, but they will sit there on a phone and argue with somebody that they don't like for 5 hours on the phone. And that thing is pumping into your head. You have got to wear and use devices that mitigate some of the EMF radiation. We can talk about those later on. But these things right here, that's why it's very likely that your coworkers and family members have differing views, at least in part because of some of this. You can't show me a free-thinking, independent, healthy person walking around with no fear, plenty of faith today that is suffering from all of this. It can't happen. You'll never show me somebody who's healthy carrying a bag of pills from Walgreens. It's mathematically impossible. It won't happen. Effects of the above will lead to misdiagnosis, right? And inevitable drugging for life, because the drugs will create something that then needs to be covered with another drug. Families and workplaces are in constant conflict over misunderstood physiology and currently fraudulent science. Next, let's check this out. I wrote this the other day. I thought, you know what? Let's make this a Dr. Brett Spradlin quote show. Here goes. Lies will always produce destruction, disease, disorder, division, confusion, slavery, poverty, weakness, and death. Truth, yeah, amen. Can I get an amen on that? On the other hand, truth will always produce, instead of destruction, creativity. Disease becomes health. Disorder becomes unity. Disorder becomes order. Division becomes unity, right? Confusion becomes clarity. Slavery to freedom. Poverty to prosperity. Weakness to strength. And death to life. Look at our current society and tell me then if we've been told truth or lies by morally corrupt and mentally depraved criminals. If we don't get censored for this one, I ain't doing my job. The only way possible, however, that I cannot help you is if you first decide not to allow me. What were the things today? Well, you got to die something. You got to love that one. Guys are famous for saying that. Well, I just want to be happy, so I'm just going to eat. I'm just going to eat whatever I want, and I'm going to be happy. While they're choking on an oxygen tube, and they can't move around, they're in a walker, and they're arguing with you about how they're happy. I just want to die happy with eating Little Debbie oatmeal cakes. Why? Because they're indoctrinated, fluoridated, medicated, vaccinated. So there's some fights that you don't need to pick. Next. You're never going to win them. So there are only 2 forces in this world. Love. You know who the author of love is. Number 2, fear. So just by product of substitution, fear, you know where that comes from, right? So the top stressors then of 2021, I'm just going to lay this out obviously, it's going to be logical and it's going to be obvious. Everything you hear us say is going to be logical, it's going to be physiological, it's going to be biblical, everything. If not, throw your hand up and let me know. So the top stressor of 2021, by far, By far then, if there are only two forces in this world, love and fear, the top thing in this world right now is fear. People are absolutely out of their minds with fear. Why? Well, from the the television. Number one, what are they afraid of? I'm afraid of dying. There's a global scamdemic, and I don't know what to do, and I might get the Rona, and I might fall over dead. People are still dying. People always have died. People will die. It's just not what you're being told, because everything's relabeled now as what? The Rona. What happened to flus? What happened to the millions of people every year that die of a typical flu? What happened to millions of people every year to die from lung infections, bronchitis, pneumonia? What happened to pneumonia? Right? Next. So they're afraid of other people. They don't want to touch other people because they're afraid of a germ that they can't see that hasn't been proven to exist yet. We'll get to that. They're afraid of losing their job, so they're just going to go get the shot because I don't want to lose my job. But let me remind you, and let you remind everyone that you know, who is your provider? Your job? Okay, it's not your job. It's the government? Who's your provider? Is it God? Then act like it. And get out there and tell people. You're buckling to this system and saying, oh, God, I got to get the shot for work. No, you don't. Maybe this is a sign that you need to change jobs. Maybe this is a sign that you need to move. Maybe this is a sign you need to stand up and have some morals and some backbone and say, maybe this is a sign that you go to your buddies at work and you go, hey, I got 30 people working underneath me. They all moved us here from different spots in the whole United States. I wonder what would happen if we're so important to them, they moved us across the country to get here. I wonder what would happen if the 30 of us stood up and said, we're not doing it. What would happen? I don't know, but I'm willing to tell you, to have you tell me when you find out. Keep me posted, right? Next. So they're afraid of losing their business, but a lot of people who are afraid of losing their business shut the doors. We never did. We never shut down for one day. Actually, last year we expanded. Hired more people, expanded, did more social media. I didn't buy this crap for a minute. Not one single solitary minute. They're afraid of going to church, which is an absolute disgrace. Pastors are afraid of having the churches open. They're afraid of visiting elderly family members, which is just unconscionable, what's happening in the nursing homes. And then next, going outside. So they're afraid. They're afraid of going outside. What? So here you go. Masks, social distancing, international lockdown, shuttering churches, closing businesses, rising violence, racial intolerance, sponsored riots, rigged elections, widespread censorship. It just goes on. Family separation, fake news media, lack of human interaction in the last year have injected, right here, fear, lies, and hatred into the very fabric of our society. So now more than ever, everyone in this room, you need to understand that you must protect yourself and your family from the stresses we will cover here, right? Can I get an amen there? Nobody's going to do it for you. You got to stand up and do it. Your moms and dads, your aunts and uncles and cousins and kids, they need to hear what you're hearing. Share this. Tell them something. When you walk out of here, have at least 3 points that you can stand up and go, wow, this is a game changer. Have at least 3 points. That's why everybody should be writing some of these things down. You will never make a good decision from fear. Hopping out from in front of a speeding bus, that is a very short-term fear reaction. What I'm talking about is a long-term. You will never make a good decision based on fear. Am I wrong? Somebody please inform me if I'm wrong. But bad food, people make that decision because they're afraid they can't afford good food. We just talked about this. They won't have time. Oh, it takes too much time to cook. No, it takes less time and it's cheaper because guess what? You eat less. Because you're not eating crap food that had to have a bunch of chemicals sprayed on it with a bunch of dyes and preservatives and trucked in a truck across the country to get here with diesel and a truck driver and manufacturing plants and lines. Guess what? I'm going to save you tens of thousands of dollars and probably millions by dropping diagnoses off of your future, kicking them out of the door. Decisions made from fear, bad relationships. Well, I just don't want to be alone. What does that do? That invites terror into your house or your life or your job. They're afraid of other things like bad jobs. Well, I'm afraid of going broke, so I'm just going to keep this job. Well, yeah, I might go broke. So yeah, I'm just going to get this job. No, you know what? You just signed your own death warrant if you did that. Next, bad habits. Well, I don't know. I don't really have time. I don't want to make any more new friends. I don't want to, get rid of my bad habits. I just want to keep my bad habits. Bad environment. Afraid to change. So see how all these things, when you're afraid, you never make good decisions. So the state of the whole world right now is everyone's in fear mode. And when you're in fear mode, what goes up? Stress, adrenaline, epinephrine. So all of those disease processes that you just saw right there, going crazy right now. Crazy right now. So if you're not doing something to offset that, you've got one foot in the grave already. Next. 4 manners of death. It is so simple. I will break everything down for you so simply. all the time. It is not complex. You don't need specialists, and you don't need medical textbooks on one disease for how to treat your thing. You don't need to Google your condition, which, by the way, I'll tell you where it's going to lead you, Medscape and WebMD, which is going to lead you to drugs and surgeries and procedures that lead to other drugs and surgeries. There are only 4 ways you can die. Did you all know that? Homicide, somebody else does it for you. Suicide, you do it of your own accord. Trauma, something happens, comet falls out of the sky, tree falls on you. Or natural causes. This is an actual picture of a coroner's report. If they don't know how it happened, they're investigating it, or we just couldn't figure it out. Was it a suicide, or did somebody pull the trigger? That's a very simple explanation of how you go to your grave. Very simple. Somebody else did it, you did it, or it was just, you're standing in the wrong place at the wrong time when somebody teed off on the green. And the other one was natural causes. Now, what's the problem with this right here? Natural causes. 2,000 years ago, natural causes in the Bible, and he went to sleep. Nowadays, natural causes, heart attack, cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, right? How do they, all these diseases are mislabeled as natural causes, right? Because think about it. It's not a trauma. You die of the Rona, it ain't a trauma, it ain't a suicide, it's not a homicide. Well, it technically is a homicide, but you see what I'm saying? Everything's being labeled natural causes. So everybody just thinks that all this crap is natural. Your cancer, your stage 4, your level 5, whatever it is, and your multiple sclerosis, your Parkinson's, your Alzheimer's, all those diseases, they're just natural. They don't know what causes them, it's just natural, right? You know this, right? Yeah. Next. So, this is the truth, though. You will never see something more truthful than this, as far as health goes. Chemical, emotional, structural. Chemical, let's talk about structural for a minute. Let's say, okay, shark bites, is that structural? Gunshot wound, is that a structural stress to the body? Falling off a ladder, is that a structural stress to the body? So you fall off a ladder, you break your right ankle, right? Well, here, I think we'll show it in the next one. And just yeah. Structural. So say we break your right ankle, and you're limping on your left leg, right? Well, if you're limping on your left leg and you're not moving your right leg, you're increasing your right brain input. And your right brain is the more emotional side, the more fear-based side, the more estrogen-driven side, ladies. We're not talking about left brain accountants and right brain artists. We're talking about the different sides of your brain that are run and have more receptors for your different hormones. Guys on the left that have testosterone, girls on the right that have estrogen, right? So if you don't move your right ankle, but you're moving your left one a lot more, you're getting more right brain input, which is driving that side of the brain that has more fear connections. Increased right brain activity leads to increased central nervous system imbalance. To review, a cast on the right ankle leads to decreased left brain input, similar to doing bicep curls with only one arm. You go to the gym and you just do this all day long. Your right arm's going to look great. Your left arm's going to be a little wimpy. That's what can happen. So structural stress, falling off a ladder, see how this can totally upset that whole balance of the neuronal cart, so to speak? So that's the structural, physical. Somebody kicks you, you have a trauma, you have an accident, you have a nearly attempted homicide or a badly attempted suicide, there's some kind of structural damage to your body, right? Chemical and nutritional. In other words, there's too much toxin, like aspartame, pesticides, GMOs, drugs, vaccines, sugar, you name it, arsenic, aluminum, mercury, whatever. Too much toxin or too little nutrition. This is very important. This is what's going to cause all of those black box diseases, like a black box warning on a drug, right? Too little nutrition. You don't have enough vitamins, minerals, fats, or proteins. Guess what you're not going to rebuild? Your body. So many things out there are vitamin and mineral deficiencies, you would have no idea. You don't see vitamin and mineral deficiencies in animal populations. Why? Because the vets have figured it out, because the animals are worth a whole lot of money. You got a flock of geese that go down, or you got a whole herd of cattle that go belly up, you just lost a lot of money. So what do they assure that the animals never do? Fall into this. Too little nutrition. If they figured it out in animals, don't tell me they couldn't figure it out in humans. Ask the vets. Ask one. Next. Emotional and mental. Emotional stress, this is what everybody's referring to. See, it's more than just emotional stress. It's chemical, it's structural, it's emotional, but this is the one that everybody's referring to when they say, oh, it's just stress related. Fear and stress cause more neuronal connections to develop in the right cortex, causing your left cortex to become weak, as a review of that last slide. The world sells fear and stress in a coordinated fashion. Good decisions are not made out of fear. Fear is the most devastating cause of disease. That's why your television is full of it. Turn it off. If you need help, let me know. I will come over to your house and I will murder. I committed murder one time. It was years ago. It was 1994. I'll never forget it. I can still smell the day. I can still smell, it was October. I smell the gunpowder. I can just smell it. And I murdered. I mean, he was just standing there. He was defenseless. It was like a 22-inch Magnavox. And I just teed off on him. So I'm done with you. I committed that murder. I buried the body in the woods. I will help you. I will murder that 62-inch behemoth on your wall. I swear I will. Emotional or spiritual stress, well, who put you here? If you don't figure this out, and this is our little church break, okay? If you don't figure this out, you're going to have a hard time in life. First of all, you got to figure out who put you here, because you didn't put yourself here. There's only three options. You're an atheist, there's 0 gods. You're a monotheist, there's 1 God. Or you're a polytheist, there's more than 1. There are no other options. Can anyone in this room think of another option? 0, 1, or more than 1. Is there another option? I'll make it very simple for you. If you're an atheist, there's 0 gods. You're a polytheist, there's a sun god, moon god, war god, river god, bug god, frog god. Then you got a problem. Who created all those gods? You got a big problem. Well, I believe it's aliens. Okay, well, who created the aliens? You still got the same problem you started with. So now you have to, by logic, assume monotheism. Well, there's only 3 options then from there. It's Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. So you have to make you have to figure that one out. Islam came 700 years after Christianity, right? And Judaism foretold Christianity, and Christianity fulfilled Judaism. The Old Testament predicting the New Testament fulfilling the Old Testament. So the Old Testament Jews and the New Testament Christians really telling the same story. So guess what I just ruled out? Islam. So guess what? Who put you here? God himself. He wants a relationship with you. You can have it. Or you can just, he's a gentleman. He's not going to force you. However, if you don't figure out the answer to question number 2, why did he put you here? That will make everything. That will make this fear, this stress, all this other crap just go bye-bye. And then the third one is, well, okay, if he put me here, because I didn't put myself here, and he put me here why did he put me here? He put me here to maybe wake some people up. He put me here to have a business. He put me here to have kids or family. What should you do while you're here? Probably figure out who he is, and probably figure out what he said about himself already improved in archaeology, in science, in chemistry, in biology, in prophecy, the only book in the world that contains correct fulfilled prophecy. Also, 3 languages, 3 continents, 66 books, 40 authors, all combined in one book that all tell the same story. Interesting, isn't it? The Quran, the Bhagavad Gita are one book written by one dude. Interesting. So then where do you go when you're no longer here? If you can answer those 4 questions, your emotional and spiritual stress, I can promise you, will go down double digits. Double digits. Who put you here? Why did he put you here? What should you do while you're here? Should I just sit around, play video games, watch TV, yell at the TV, reality TV all day? No. Where do you go when you're no longer here? How many of you been to a funeral? They were here. Now, a couple days later, they're not here. Where'd they go? They were here. I remember burying the first dog I ever had. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I remember just sitting there, that moment of like, the reality of going, we're all going to die. This is weird. I was a kid, and I had to figure this out. I had to, where does he go? He's not here anymore, but I was hugging him and petting him yesterday, right? We're in a battle of flesh and blood, not flesh and blood. We are in a spiritual battle. You got to figure this out. That's big. The triune of life, however, is intelligence, force, and matter. What do I mean by this? Well, force has to have an intelligence behind it in order to create matter. Matter has to have a force behind it with some kind of intelligence. You follow me? Then any equation starts with 3 variables. Think about it. It's so simple. 3 is such a big number, isn't it? Force equals mass times acceleration. That's how you figure out how much force goes into something. Next, Einstein said energy equals mass times speed of light squared, right? A equals B times H. That's rectangular area equals base times height. So if somebody gives you 2 of these numbers, you can easily find out the other one. I don't want to get all algebraic and geometric with you guys. I know this is probably giving you all a fear response, talking about equations, but this is just, any electricians out there, the old West Virginia formula, watts equals volts times amps. So simple, right? If you have two of those, you can figure out the other one, right? So here we go. In the beginning, where's the note? There you are, Jonathan. In the beginning, time. In the beginning, that's your time. God created the heavens, that's the space, that's the distance, and the earth. There's your matter. So the entire physical universe of time, space, and matter, as well as every equation of physics, were laid out in the very first chapter, the very first verse of the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Time, space, matter, right there. There's no question. So let's just discuss these other examples of the Trinity, of the triune nature of things. Look at this. Man, created in the image of God, spirit, soul, body. This follows the likeness of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We're made in his image. Makes sense? Next, soul's mind, will, and emotions, according to the Bible. Everybody, the New Agers get this backwards. It's body, spirit, soul, or it's body, mind, spirit, body, mind, soul. The Bible says spirit, soul, body in that order, because that's the first. Spirit comes first. Soul, that's your mind, your will, and your emotions. I'll show you scripture, chapter, and verse on that if you want. And then there's your body. Your body always comes last. New Agers get it backwards. But your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. So your mind, how you are, your temperament, your will, what you will and will not to do, your ability to withstand temptation, and your emotions, that's just what makes you happy, what makes you sad. Your soul, it's the link between your spirit and your body. People get this all jacked up, but if they studied it biblically and figured it out from the instruction manual, from the actual original equipment manufacturer, they'd understand how the spirit and the soul and the body work. Counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists don't believe that crap. Most of them. Man has birth, life, and death. Information, if you've got your radio on in your car, there's a transmitter, there's a receiver, there's a message, right? There's matter. All matter is either solid, liquid, or gas. Continuing, water is either ice, liquid, or vapor. Light, in this screen right here, light, visible light, is a mixture of red, green, and blue. However, if you do it with paint and pigment, red, yellow, and blue, those are your primary colors. Light's different than pigment. Next, story. Any story has a beginning, a middle, or an end, right? And that water being ice, liquid, or gas. Notice that water could be cold, hot, or lukewarm. Just FYI. Statistics go up, down, stay the same. Any stat you're measuring, there's only three things it can do. Your bank account, your amount of love for your wife, the number of days that you have been eating healthy, any statistic that you have, the number of days that you've been married, the number of promotions you've gotten at work, any stat that you have can only do three things. It either goes up, it goes down, or it stays the same. So simple. Your stats classes and your math teachers in school probably never made it that simple. But it can only go up, go down, or stay the same. So in any condition, if somebody comes in here and has a headache or a back pain or whatever, conditions, they only get better, they get worse, or they stay the same. I will adjust you, or I will do something, and we'll say, okay, this week, are you better, worse, or the same? Oh, better. Good. You're improving. So that statistic of your health is climbing. Next. Plumbing, pump, pipes, and fluid. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Questions are yes, no, maybe. How many options you got? That's it. That's it. All right, and here we go. And then we're going to get into, oh yeah, here comes quote show. And here comes Amanda. Yay!
All right, so another great testimonial here about anxiety and sleep issues. So she says, I was not sleeping through the night for 9 years. That's a long time to not get good sleep. I was always anxious because of the lack of sleep and taking sleep medications every single night. After 8 days on supplements and doing the nutritional plan, I am sleeping through the night. My anxiety is pretty much gone and I already feel better. So barely over a week.
Wow. It's simple. When you break things down in a simple understanding and you don't get sucked into Google land and you don't get sucked into medical textbooks about one disease, spend your whole entire professional career trying to fix one problem for somebody, you can fix a lot of other problems for other people. Let's get some comic relief up in here. That was March of 2020. Remember that? That's me right here. That's Nadia in front. Oh, no, I'm totally kidding. It's not me. That was not me. Okay, next. If the CDC was in charge of measuring snowfall. And people believe these people. These criminals. Criminals. Next. When you find out who's been giving all your rights away. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yep. And for my next trick, I will try. Oh, there's Alex. Alex wearing his NASA shirt, of course. Me watching y'all play Simon Says with the CDC every week. He's getting ready to murder somebody. That's a homicide look right there. For my next trick, I'll transmit a disease I don't have to someone who has been immunized against it. Asymptomatic carriers. They call good evil and evil good, right? All right, so patients seek medical care from blind eye doctors, orthodontists with lisps, overweight gastroenterologists, psychiatrists who won't take the very drugs they prescribe, and pediatricians who won't vaccinate their own children. Just to let you all know. Some of you know this, some of you don't. I'm just letting you know. People come here because this is what they see. Next. Another quote show from Dr. Spradlin. There is currently an awakening underway. Drug commercials, rising insurance premiums, reports of widespread medical fraud and corruption, pharmaceutical death tolls, public suspicion that there must be a better way, all point to a changing of the guard in healthcare and our traditional understanding of it. There now exists a whole generation of Americans who have put their relatives and friends in the ground unnecessarily due to medical complications, opioid overdoses, procedures gone wrong. Anybody in this room? Raise your hand if that's, yeah, opioids, procedures gone wrong, every hand. Every single day, patients parrot the plea of, I don't want to end up like fill in the blank with your parent, your friend, your coworker, your neighbor, who ended up on 15 medications, open heart surgery, a stent in the psych ward, checking into the nursing home 20 years ahead of schedule just before retirement. And then they come here. After all of this has wreaked havoc upon their body, they've been robbed of their pension and their 401k from medical tests and procedures. They come here, they dump their carcass, and they say, take care of me. Sometimes, well, most of the time we get great results. We are the answer, we're the future, we are the underdog, we're David, they're Goliath. We know how that story ends. Drugs are dead, folks. You know, they ran a story not long ago in Newsweek or Time or whatever, and it said the post-medical era. Because they're talking about how once antibiotics are done and useless, like what's medicine going to do? They're a one-trick pony, right? The medical ship's burning. The rats jumping into the water. Doctors and nurses are now waking up to the realization that they will one day become like their patients if something doesn't change. Now, for the first time ever, healthcare workers are faced with taking the very same treatment they forced upon patients for decades, and they're wide-eyed with terror. These are just some of my observations with people. And, 40, 50, 60 patients a day coming in here, and I'm hearing how their work is, how their families are, how their in-laws are, how their kids are doing, what the schools and daycares are doing. So I have my finger on the pulse. I just figured I'd share some of this with you. In the medical world, however, disease is an entity, something that needs to be preemptively vaccinated, chemically neutralized, surgically removed, or otherwise treated. Natural health chiropractic paradigm, however, does not recognize disease this way. Rather, it realizes that any disease state is simply a condition of lack or absence of force, resulting in decreased function. All right, next. So how many diseases? You saw that slide at the very beginning. Medical researchers have chronicled over, that's a low number. That is a low number. 20,000 different diseases, naming every variation, right? You can have neck pain with pain radiating with nervous paresthesia, tingles going down the arm. You can have neck pain with tingles going down both arms. You can have polyneuropathy with hands and feet. You can have polyneuropathy with just both feet. There's a million different variations. They only have thousands of disease names. Get this. This is your take-home message right here, one of them. They only have thousands of disease names because of the number of bodily organ and tissue systems that express the symptoms of chronic poisoning and poison expulsion from the body in thousands of combinations of different ways. All of this is only one disease. What that's saying, very simply, is exactly what I told you before. Left side of your body, you got inflammation in your large intestine on the left side. They call it ulcerative colitis, UC. They call it UC now. Everything's abbreviated. If it's on the right side, it's called Crohn's. Next. Toxemia, universal cause of disease. Some people would say inflammation. Some people would say toxicosis. Toxemia, that literally means What does that word mean? Anyone in here, medical background, medical terminology? What is toxemia? You'll get this. Poison in your blood. Tox means poison. Emia means, like anemia, means no blood, means no energy. Anemia or polycythemia means many cells in the blood. Your blood has too many cells in it. Emia, ox, poison in the blood. It's a universal cause of disease, no matter how it manifests itself. Although toxemia may arise from many sources, structural, chemical, emotional, it basically exists because of insufficient nerve energy to sufficiently eliminate exogenous poisons and body wastes. Insufficient nerve energy. What do chiropractors do? You're welcome. Sufficiently eliminate exogenous, that means out of body, poisons put into the body, and bodily waste. Toxemia means poison in the blood. Actually, a term not broad enough to cover the whole poisoning process. Actually, toxicosis, which is condition of toxins, or condition of poisoning, or a condition of toxicity, overtakes tissue, cells, and interstitial spaces. In short, the entire body is toxic. Why would the entire body be toxic? Anybody? Why would the entire body be toxic? Food, air, water, medications, vaccination, indoctrination, irradiation. See where I'm going? I'm just circling back to the reasons that you can't talk to other humans, because they're not humans anymore. They're not thinking like humans anymore. So note this too, you cannot vaccinate toxemia out of someone. If you were trying to fix the toxemia in their body and you put poisons in their body, what are you actually doing? Making it worse. Oh, and disease. Where does disease, the word disease, comes from? Dis means lack. Ease means ease. So disease, what does it mean? Lack of ease, which means your life just got difficult if you have one. Does that make sense? See, even the very root meanings of the words have been disguised from us until you take a moment and you break it down. Let's talk about this for a second. Just think about it. 2,000 years ago, 27 books of the New Testament, we had a lot of very smart, interesting. Luke was a physician, for crying out loud, as in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. How many biblical diseases were there? Now, I might be missing some here. This was just off the cuff. I thought of it the other day. I thought, let's throw it in here. I want you to think about this. Here we go. Epilepsy. Too much. Nervous system, right? Too much stuff going on. Excitatory nervous system. Epilepsy. Falling in the fire, right? Paralysis. Not enough. Too much, not enough. The only way a disease happens. Blindness, that's of the eyes. Deafness, that's of the ears. Mute, that's of the tongue. Leprosy, that's of the skin. Hand deformity, that's a congenital anomaly, or he could have been injured, right? Next, fever, that is the result of a poisoning of the body, and the body's trying to overcome the poisoning. Bleeding, blood. Am I leaving anything out? Can anybody in this room keep me up to date? Like, that's all I could come up with. There's 10 of them, 11 of them. So where the heck did multiple sclerosis, cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, AIDS, corona, irritable bowel disease and syndrome, whichever one you want to call it. Where did all these diseases come from? Diseases of civilization, man-made, food, air, water, meds, vax, irradiation. It just goes on and on. The diseases are never going to stop, folks. They're going to get more numerous and more severe and more frequent every year, especially now, because now there's a nanoparticle bioweapon released in the blood supply of humans. Now, the illogical and painful process, unfortunately, here we go. Here's what happens. Standard American, the food. What we eat today is often not food. So say that somebody comes in here and the thing that is really, one of the things that has led them here, standard American diet. So just say somebody comes in, they're eating crappy food at first. Starves their tissues, poisons them at the same time. If you eat crap food and you make excuses that you can't afford it, guess what you're doing? You're actually starving your own tissues as you think that you're approaching that knee replacement surgery. You're starving your own knee replacement to be able to even mend itself. And while you eat that crappy food because you won't give up to the Doritos and the Taco Bell because it's so convenient, you're poisoning yourself while you're starving yourself. And you're paying for it. We break people out of that mindset, and we do it in 90 days. Number two, the typical American then, after they've poisoned themselves and starved themselves for a certain amount of time, they develop one or more chronic inflammatory diseases, all of those diseases on the first slide, and they seek medical advice, usually based upon insurance coverage or mileage radius from their dwelling rather than upon desired outcome. Can I get an amen on that one? Yeah, they're not looking for results. They're looking for a short drive in a lot of cases. Number 3, once in the medical system, which now is wide open, tearing people up, lying, cheating, stealing, once in that system, which, by the way, next year, this time next year, if things don't stop, don't change, you won't get your teeth cleaned without a swab up your nose and a vaccine in your arm. That's where we're going. Once they're in the system, he or she is prescribed more poisons. For instance, let's just say a statin drug. There's probably 10 people in this room that have probably been on statin drugs or are on them right now. They're not informed of common side effects of statins, such as muscle pain, cramps, fatigue, fever, memory loss, confusion, diabetes, kidney damage, liver damage, heart failure, digestive disorders. Do any of those look familiar? Did you see any of those earlier? So is a statin a chemical stressor to your body? Yes. Is every drug a chemical stressor to your body? Yes. Is there any drug made that is not a chemical stressor to your body? No. Is there any drug made that your insurance won't pay for? Maybe hydroxychloroquine, as of the last year. I've also found it interesting that every person that walks in here knows what ivermectin is, whereas 9 months ago, they never would have known how to say the word. Where'd they learn it? The devil vision in their living room. Next. Number 5, he or she then experiences the above symptoms and is prescribed more poisons. In America, 70% are on one prescription, 20% are on 5 or more. You don't hear about drunk driving anymore. Why? Because Granny's running people off the sidewalk in broad daylight. Drugged out of her face on opioids and all the rest of this nonsense pharmacia crap that you're paying for and being killed with. Metformin, you got blood sugar. ACE inhibitors, blood pressure. Steroids, if you're stopping the swelling and pain, but what we already determined, the swelling and the pain is your body's inflammation trying to tell you something's up. So you can point something out and help the swelling and pain. But you just take a steroid and you just shut it off. Just shut it off. Analeptics. You know, medicine tells your body that it's stupid. We tell your body that we're going to listen. That's the difference. Anti-epileptics, nervous system, anxiety, antidepressants, depression. Painkillers, pain, different. Steroids and painkillers, different. Opioids, boom, right? Stomach acid inhibitors, heartburn, that's your Prilosec, that's your Zantac, that's your Nexium, that's your purple pill crap. Shut off your digestion. Let me ask you this. You shut off your digestion, do you absorb your nutrients right? Do you have vitamin or mineral deficiencies right now from taking stomach acid inhibitors? See how they've tricked you? You take that antacid, the Tums, the calcium crap, the buffering crap, you're not digesting your food right. So you're starving yourself further and poisoning yourself further with a drug that you're taking because you're starving and poisoning yourself. God, if I could have, who writes this? Who writes this? Antibiotics, infections, okay? OTC drugs, just go to Walgreens or CVS, which are always located across the street from each other. 45 degrees, if you ever notice that in big cities. Interesting, isn't it? Tylenol, cough suppressants, sleep aids, antacids. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So this is a normal, regular person. Just this is going on for decades. Number 6. Additional side effects then happen due to the poisonous nature of the additional drugs, or whatever, 12 of them taken together, which has never been studied. It's just no computer on earth could calculate the side effects of this drug, this drug, this drug, this drug, and this drug, all interacting together with your crappy diet, your crappy foods, with crappy genetics, with toxins at work, the fact that you just went through the backscatter radiation machine at the airport to get on the plane and go 35,000 feet in a 300-person tube, and then spend 6 hours on a plane and under all that stress in an airport with a bunch of other people. Who knows? You will never track down why all this stuff happens. See? It will be a symptom and a side effect and a symptom and a side effect, and they'll never go back and say, well, this could have been a reaction from the 12 drugs that grandma was on. Never. Never will you hear that. ACE inhibitors like lisinopril have side effects very similar to what? You saw that. Persistent cough, dizziness, nausea, headache, trouble breathing. What population of people are most on lisinopril ACE inhibitors? Old people, nursing homes? So I wonder how they're getting diagnosed with this horrible, horrible scamdemic. He or she then gets regular exposure to aluminum with an electrical conductivity only slightly less than that of copper. You know how much crap has aluminum in it? I'm glad you asked. It's right here. It's highly biologically reactive and ubiquitous, meaning everywhere. Public tap water, fertilizer, jet engines. If you work at an airport, if you are in the flight paths living in a city underneath an airport, you know, the interesting stuff about COVID is there seems to be patterns of biodiesel usage in the big places where it happened. Biodiesel is genetically modified corn and soy that is sprayed into the atmosphere by trucks and planes. I won't talk about that right now. Another couple of weeks and the diseases that don't exist, come to that one. We'll clue you in. But all of this is places where you'll find skincare products, shampoos, hair products, deodorants. Who uses all that stuff? Women. Right? Women. Check out the class we did last week on women. Continuing on, the illogical and painful process, add EMF exposure from 5G and wireless technology for guarantees of impending sickness, particularly now when we have the technology to be able to dial in a certain disease from a 5G tower. It's very interesting. We could talk about that all day. Subsequent medical visits, self-assembling biological nanoparticulate things that can now be found in very small amounts in vaccines can self-assemble inside their bodies given a certain radio signal. Graphene oxide, yes. But super paramagnetic iron oxide nanoparticles, spions, S-P-I-O-N-S, they're called spions. Look that up. But they can program the stuff through radio waves, electromagnetic fields. We won't go there right now, but medical visits for further symptoms result in drugs, surgeries, or procedures which then lead to drugs or surgeries. Number 10, our phone rings with panic and desperation on the other end, usually from those who complain that their doctors just want to give them drugs, without understanding that by one's medical license and the actual law of one's medical practice, medical doctors are required to prescribe medical drugs, surgeries, or to recommend procedures that eventually lead to the same. Don't tell me, I go to my doctor and he just wants to give me drugs, so I go home and I throw them in the trash. And I say, wonderful, you just spent your premium, your deductible, your copay, your coinsurance, your prescription costs, your time standing in line, making the appointment, going through all this for the last 12 years. He's just giving you a drug, so you go home and throw it in the toilet and pollute my water? Bad idea. Bad idea. It's horrible, but that's what happens. So you've been so tricked into pumping all your money down the toilet of premiums, deductibles, and copays that only offer you the ability to get drugs and surgery that people are like, well, I can't afford to eat healthy. I got to pay for Blue Cross Blue Shield to get a new penthouse in New York City for their building. Well, my employer pays for it. Well, yeah, but it comes out of your paycheck. Or, yeah, I'm on Medicare. I don't pay for it. No, but you paid into it your whole life. See, you did pay for it. Stop thinking that way, right? That's how this happens. Make sense? All right. And on that note, Amanda, commercial break. Very interesting.
All right, a little bit of happy. So this patient says they came in, I remember they were feeling absolutely horrible. Said they had neck pain, brain fog, jaw pain. They were feeling hopeless and weighed down. She said she couldn't work or sleep for the few days prior to coming in here. She said the very next day, she had no pain, tons of clarity, woke up with no pain at all, felt hopeful and thankful. She was able to work the entire day with no headache or pain and felt like herself again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Fabulous. Feeling like yourself, that's a requisite these days. Next. I'll just let you read that. Don't you love memes? They're just so poignant. Oh yeah, what people think they're doing when they say they trust the science and what they're actually doing. It's not science, folks, I can assure you. I spent a lot of time studying science. I can assure you. It's not science, it's propaganda televised. That's all it is. Search continues for the 2 missing viruses that have suddenly disappeared after hundreds of years. Have you seen the flu and the cold? Very interesting. Are you concerned that someone you know is becoming an extremist? I'm concerned that people I know aren't becoming extremists. Isn't that great? Okay, now, want to check this out. Germ theory, we won't get into the whole Antoine Béchamp versus Louis Pasteur thing. That's beyond the scope of this class, although we've talked about it in previous ones. Look at this. If you've got two fish bowls, right? This one over here is dirty. This one over here is very clean. See the fish going from the dirty one to the clean one? Animals are always going to do this, see? Always. They just know. They have senses about them. Humans, it's only humans that you can talk into lying in their own filth and squalor and begging for more. But if you had a squalorous fish bowl or an aquarium, would you think we have to vaccinate all these fish? Or would you think, I got to clean this aquarium? Remember that. That's probably the second thing I want you to get at. But the number two thing, take-home message, is like the germ theory says everything's genetic, everything's germs, everything is causing, you are a victim of your environment. There's nothing you can do about the germs and the genes. It was your parents, it was your grandparents, the cancer, it's genetic. Well, yeah, but my mom and dad didn't have cancer. No, it's genetic, it's genetic. What about autism? Oh yeah, it's genetic, it's genetic. Right? So it's either genetic or it's germs. And with germs, you're always going to have a vaccine, you're always going to have an antibiotic. There's always going to be a big pharma cartel standing behind saying, we got this. It's giving you more crap, like what they've given you in the last year and a half. Or do we just change the terrain? In other words, the germs are there as a result of the terrain. The germs are just doing their job. The bacteria, stuff like that, they're just doing their job. They're returning non-viable tissue to the dust of the earth. That's what they were created to do. That's it. They are returning non-viable tissue back to the earth. When a body rots, the bacteria do that on purpose. It's not a disease. It's what's returning everything back to the dust particles of which we came. This right here makes more sense, doesn't it? Medicine is ruled by this. The germ theory. We have to vaccinate and we have to crush all the biology, all the microbiotics, all the microbiology, all the microorganisms, all the viruses, all the bacteria. We have to come up with a vaccine to crush. We have to come up with an antibiotic to crush. Terrain theory says, no. The bugs are there as a result of the body being in a situation that supports them. They're there doing their job. 97% of scientists agree with those funding their research grants. That's true. Now, we're going to run through this next three quotes here quickly. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. We can talk about it after the camera's off. From 1933 to the present day, virologists, those who study viruses, have been unable to present any experimental study proving that influenza spreads through normal contact between people. All attempts to do so have met with failure. Next, people are wearing 2 masks and a visor, standing 6 feet apart to avoid something they can't even prove exists. The most evil division of medicine, psychiatry. I teach classes on this. The land of the free, home of the crazed, psychiatry. That's what we're studying. The most evil division of medicine used to call this disorder germophobia. Remember that term? Now, it's normal if you have germophobia. Think about that. Many have been given a real mental illness by fearing a make-believe contagious one. If you want to understand more about that, come to the Diseases That Don't Exist class in a couple weeks. We're going to talk more about what's really happening. So inflammation. What is this whole inflammation thing? People come to me all day long. Well, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that. I think it's just inflammation. Well, I can tell they've been on Google, and I can tell they've been reading some other stuff, and that's good. That's okay. They're partially right. Yeah, it is inflammation, because inflammation is your body's attempt to let you know something's up. Inflammation, what's it do? Right here. It's sharp. So it's swelling, heat. Let's read this first. In inflammation, the toxins are concentrated in an organ or area for a massive expulsive effort. The area becomes inflamed due to the constant irritation of the toxic materials. You got a bad knee? Guess what? Toxic materials. You've got indigestion, bloating? Guess what? Toxic materials. You got pain, headache? Guess what? So inflammation is sharp. This is how you remember. This is so easy. This is probably another thing you ought to write down. It's an acronym for swelling, heat, a loss of function, redness, and pain. Medicine solution? take an anti-inflammatory toxic chemical poison. So even when you just get inflamed, something gets inflamed. Your kid has a fever, what are you told to do? Give them Tylenol to reduce the fever. Your body's fever is there for a reason. Your body, I can assure you, will not cook your own brain. I can assure you. Your body is not stupid enough to cook your own brain. The only way that's going to happen is if somebody wraps you in a blanket and you can't get out of it. Okay? But when you have inflammation, that's your body doing something good. People put ice on an injury. Don't put ice on an injury. Let your body swell. Let your body heat up. Unless get a heating pad. Because do you want more blood there to heal it or less blood there to heal it? Who's going to heal it? You or your blood? Your blood. So let blood get there. But we've all been taught rest, ice, compression, elevation, right? So the 4 routes of toxin elimination, look at this. You can sweat it out, you can breathe it out, you can pee it out, or you can poo it out. Nope, go back. Skin, lungs, kidneys, bowels. That's how you get stuff out of your body. So when somebody says to me, I think it was earlier today, somebody said, I never used to sweat, but now I'm sweating a little bit. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's a good thing. Unless you're a deodorant commercial and you want to tell people never let them see you sweat, it's good that you're sweating because your body's toxin elimination channels, you just told me, haven't been open for 4 or 5 decades. And now you're sweating, which means now you're losing stuff out of your body that needs to go bye-bye. Lungs, you're breathing stuff out. Now, if you put something over your face that contains chemicals made in China, and you suck that in and blow it out, and suck that in and blow that moist, diseased, bacteria, dirt-ridden air over and over, do you think that eventually you might be diagnosed with a respiratory disorder? You can't make this crap up. People are doing this. They're wearing diapers on their faces, still to this day. Your kidneys. If you take drugs that destroy your kidneys, or if you eat food that destroys your bowels, are you going to be able to pee or poo? Nope, not at all. So the 4 routes of toxin elimination, those 4 things are what drugs mess up. Just let that sink in for a minute. Now, this is going to blow your mind. You ready? Inflammation. I've talked about this before. I actually go through some classes where we go right through medical terminology. I tell you how to break the words down so you're not a victim to misinformation anymore. A lot of people don't know that just something simple, a word. They go to a doctor and the doctor diagnoses them. They go to the doctor, they say, hey, all my muscles hurt. So the doctor, oh, you got fibromyalgia. Fiber, myo, muscle, algia, pain of the muscle fibers. So the person walks out with a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, clicking their heels together, going, hallelujah, praise God. They didn't get a diagnosis. They already told the doctor they had muscle problems, but the doctor said, yeah, you got muscle problems, you got muscle pain. But they got a fancy word, fibromyalgia, and they didn't know that they just got duped. So when you talk about itis, anything that says itis at the end of it, that's inflammation. That's the Latin word. We're looking at the Latin medical terminology words. Itis just means inflammation of. So inflammation is what? Sharp, right? So those 5 things: swelling, heat, loss of function, redness, pain, itis. So if you got 4 different organs of purification and elimination that are inflamed, your appendicitis, your appendix gets inflamed, we take it out. Your tonsils get inflamed, first line of defense for everything you drink and eat. First thing that they rip out in kids. Tonsils get inflamed, guess what? Your first line of defense for everything that you drink, eat, or breathe for the rest of your life is now gone. You think you might need to boost your immune system with some heavy-duty stuff that we do here? Yeah. You think your chances of colds, flus, cancers, all kinds of crap go wide open when you don't have tonsils? See where they got you? Next, if your liver swells up, we diagnose you with hepatitis A, B, C, D, or E, and then you give you drugs to fix it. The only problem is the drugs are toxic to what organ? Perfect. And then number 4, nephritis. Well, if your kidneys are messed up, we give you a drug to stop the inflammation, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, or just a straight steroid or a painkiller to stop the pain. And guess what's going to happen to your kidneys? The drug. What's the drug going to do to your kidneys? Guess what? All drugs are toxic to your liver and your kidneys. So let's rock through this. But wait, there's more. If the conjunctiva of your eyes, the white part, turns red, you and I would call it pink eye. It's also known as conjunctivitis. Rhinitis is a fancy word of the inflammation. Itis, rhine is nose, like rhino. Itis is inflammation. Inflammation of the nose, you and I would call it a cold, right? Gingivitis, inflammation of the gums. Stomatitis, inflammation of the mouth. You and I would call it chapped lips, but that's technically a disease. Pharyngitis, inflammation of the throat. Sinusitis, inflammation of the sinuses. See where this goes? It just goes on. And I'm going from top to bottom in your body. Parotitis, parotid gland, that's what swells up right here when you have the mumps, which has never been proved to be a viral disease, yet millions of people have been vaccinated against it, and it's harmless. So we're giving people a lifelong problem for a temporary, to try to fix a temporary non-lethal disease. Bronchitis is the inflammation of the bronchus or the bronchioles going into your lungs. That went away as of last year. Pneumonitis also disappeared last year. That's inflammation of the lungs. Pancreatitis, inflammation of the pancreas. Gastritis, inflammation of the stomach. Enteritis, inflammation of the intestines. You got gastroenteritis? That's fancy because that's inflammation of the stomach and the intestines. Gastroenteritis is also one of the top side effects listed on the packages of most vaccine inserts as a side effect. It inflames the stomach and the intestines. Cholecystitis, that's your gallbladder, just got inflamed. Colitis is colon, inflammation of the colon, and if you say it's bloody and it's, dirtying up your toilet bowl, we call it ulcerative colitis because it's red and it causes ulcers. Arthritis, it's inflammation of the joints. If we want to be fancy, we can call it rheumatoid arthritis to differentiate that it's an autoimmune condition and that it has certain appearance on x-ray. Next, myelitis, that's inflammation of the nerves. Every tissue of the body, I'm listing for you. Encephalitis, that's inflammation of the brain. You put bacterial in front of that, everybody freaks out. Guess what? You put viral in front of it, everybody freaks out too. What's the point? Inflammation of the brain. What inflames your brain? I'll list a few things. Vaccines, medications, crappy food. See? It only gets so complicated. Next, meningitis. Meninges are the covering of the brain, so you got meningitis, you put a bacterial or viral in front of that, man, and that sounds brutal. Bacterial meningitis? Oh no, what's going to happen? Next, dermatitis, skin, usually called atopic dermatitis, which means not typical, basically. Thyroiditis, that's your inflammation of the thyroid. Hashimoto's. I love when a woman comes in here and says, I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's like, where'd you learn those 10 syllables? Where did you learn that? And how do you say it perfectly? Because she's pronounced that curse over herself for more likely like a decade or so. Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Who's Dr. Hashimoto? I don't know. Well, you're claiming his name pretty frequently, right? Next, pericarditis is covering of the heart. See, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Put viral in front of it, really meta fancy. Put bacterial in front of it, really meta fancy. What's the cure for viral stuff? Antiviral drugs or vaccines. What's the cure for bacterial stuff? See where I'm going with this? Antibiotics. There's always, you subscribe to that germ theory idea where everything's your enemy, and there's always going to be a drug that will kill not only that stuff, but you as well. Anti means opposite or against. Biotic means life. So if you're trying to live by taking something that says in its name anti-life and you're putting it in your body, what are you really doing? You're killing yourself. Drugging someone with a cold is the equivalent of hitting a drowning man over the head to cease his struggles. Antibiotics kill the one thing trying to help us. Doctors remove tonsils that protect us from heavy metals like braces and fillings, and then you wonder why everybody's got problems in their brain and their guts. So, is the bird responsible for the roadkill? No. Is the cop responsible for the murder scene? No. Is the firefighter responsible for the burning inferno? Not really. So correlation does not imply causation. Germs are not the cause, they are the symptoms. Firefighters are always there when you see a burning building, so it's like you could have somebody could trick you and say, man, these firefighters, every time there's a burning building, these lousy firefighters are standing around, spraying water on the thing. It's probably spraying the water that causes the fire. Same thing. Those lousy cops, man, every time I see somebody pulled over or there's a car accident, there's cops there. These cops are causing all these car accidents. See how they did that with the whole scheme last year and this year? So germs are not the cause. We don't want to vaccinate all the fish there. That would be a big issue. Who's going to make money off shoving products at all those fish? Very, very seedy people. But over here, see, this is life. This is life. This is death. This is freedom. This is slavery. See, when you are responsible for cleaning your own tank, and you're not just relying on Big Brother to come and put something in your arm that's going to protect you from everything, even though you're 350 pounds overweight and you eat crap food and you make it almost an Olympic sport to try to kill yourself, you should be in charge of your own life, right? All right. I'll just cover this real quickly. I'm not going to get into a lot of this. This is a thing that was put out on the CDC FDA website a while back. The analytical sensitivity of the real-time polymerase chain reaction assays contained in the novel coronavirus, blah, 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 since no quantified virus isolates of the 2019 novel coronavirus were available for CDC use at the time the test was developed and this study conducted, assays designed for detection of the RNA were tested with characterized stocks of in vitro transcribed full-length RNA. Basically what that's saying, they didn't have a sample, they didn't have virus isolates when they created the test. They don't have the virus isolated. That's what they're saying. That's what that says. Scientists, epidemiologists, pathologists, virologists all over the world. 2 weeks ago, when the CDC and the FDA admitted this, they said right here, boom, this is it. Why is everybody taking the shot? Depopulation. They knew it. They know it. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but if you want to know more about that, come to the September 13th class on diseases that don't exist. We're going to talk about that quite a bit. Flu, tuberculosis, pneumonia, lung infections, etc. All of that, which kill more. Each of those kills more people annually than this disease, but they're all now relabeled as this disease. So just keep that in mind. Dying with is different than dying from. And commercial break, and then we will run through that diagram again, and we'll be out of here. Amanda!
Hello, hello. All right, so this one, I like the title of this one because it says, my diet was directly impacting my anxiety symptoms. As somebody that used to struggle with anxiety a lot, I had no earthly idea that that was a possible cause. They say, with the help of nutrition, Dr. Brett was able to educate me and get my diet on the right track. We found supplements to help ward off the depression and anxiety. Who knew food could create or mitigate depression? In the span of 4 months, I've felt my spirit, soul, body, and mind renewed and strengthened.
Right on. I like it. Okay, so you guys ready to review this? Well, here's some fun stuff too before we get into this. If you get vaccinated, you'll get your freedom back. And it's gone. That makes me homicidal. But that's a funny quote, but I can't believe that that's happening. Oh, yeah. Rodney Dangerfield, yeah. Made you stand 6 feet apart. Some of you wouldn't recognize tyranny if it slapped you in the face. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just review this. Give me the 10-minute timer, and then we'll answer questions. So let this sink in. Just let this, you don't have to know all the details. Just let this whole process kind of soak in, and you'll understand, and you'll never be a victim again to the nonsense that is being parroted nonstop. If you know the physiology behind how this works, you'll never be lied to again. It's very simple. Let it be simple. Don't make it complex. Let it be simple. So stress, and yes, stress. The actual death cascade in 10 minutes. Thoughts, traumas, and toxins. In other words, emotional, structural, and chemical. Thoughts, traumas, and toxins. That's what causes stress. Any one of those in a giant percentage, or all three of them in small percentages put together, will start this process. You increase adrenaline, which increases your cortisol levels. Now, what I mean by that, you're on the way here tonight, car in front of you slams on its brakes, and your adrenaline, your pupils dilate. Blood goes to your muscles so that you can run and fight. Your breathing gets heavier. You get that, rush, that headache. That's what I'm talking about. Adrenaline. So adrenaline from your adrenal glands, which are on top of your kidneys, start to put out adrenaline, which increases your cortisol, which decreases your thyroid stimulating hormone coming from your brain to your thyroid. That process there, headaches. See how it could cause a headache? Your blood vessels going to your brain all of a sudden expand, ready to fight, ready to throw down, right? Well, the only problem is there are nervous system fibers, nerve fibers, wrapped around those blood vessels. So when they expand, what does it cause? Head pain, right? Or cranialgia, pain of the head. Then you get hypothyroid symptoms, like your thyroid is working too slowly, so it doesn't burn off the fat. You slip into obesity, you slip into depression, you eat in order to build up the melatonin that's produced in your gut. Like when you eat, your body makes melatonin to increase your ability to sleep. But if that doesn't happen, guess what? You can't sleep, you're depressed, you stay up, you eat, and it just goes in a cycle. Now, glycogen, once you increase your cortisol, your glycogen breaks down to glucose. Your fat reserves in your liver and your body break down to glucose so that your body can increase your blood glucose, which, depending on when you go and get your blood drawn, you're going to be diagnosed with diabetes type 2. Or just like you might be diagnosed, they might give you a little present and say, oh, you know what, you're pre-diabetic. Every person on this earth, by definition, would be pre-diabetic. Oh, it's precancerous. Well, no kidding. Everything is precancerous. Newborn babies are precancerous, by definition. See how they do that? But the blood glucose goes up, your B vitamins then go down because your body needs to use these B vitamins to process the increased blood glucose. In that whole scheme of things, how this works out, your tryptophan, an amino acid that comes from your food, cannot be made in the lack of B vitamins to serotonin. No serotonin means you now have depression and anxiety, and depression and anxiety. And if you can't carry this out any further, no serotonin means no melatonin. You can't make melatonin. That means you don't sleep. That means you have joint pain, muscle pain when you wake up and you're peeing all night. Make sense? Don't forget this up here too, the tone of the involuntary sphincters. The involuntary sphincters, the ones that you don't have voluntary control over, they're clamped down. That's why people, when they get in a stressful situation, what happens? They poo. They pee them. What happens? Somebody comes at you, sticks a gun to your head, and you pee yourself? Or some people do this, or they poo, they pee, they pass out, whatever. Why? Because your body goes into a complete sympathetic nervous system fight or flight reaction, right? And it loses the ability to keep the tone on those involuntary sphincters. If you are in a short-term stress situation, you might pee yourself or poo. If you're in a long-term, watching TV all day long, watching the world fall apart, not in agreement with your spouse about whether the kids are going to get the shot or not. I mean, long-term stress, those involuntary sphincters just start going, and there's no separation between the stomach and the esophagus and the small intestine, or the stomach and the small intestine, large intestine, and you get gastroesophageal reflux disease, Barrett's esophagus, ulcers in the esophagus, the stomach, or the small intestine, irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease, chronic, constant, long-term diarrhea, constipation, or we could say metamucil fiber, and then you get diagnosed with diverticulitis, diverticulosis, depending on whether it's a condition or inflammation. Sound completely asinine? It is. Let's continue. Then down here, don't forget, your Krebs cycle goes in the toilet, and you can't make energy in your blood, in your cells of your body, and you get chronic fatigue. And if you can't remove the lactic acid from your muscles, you get fibromyalgia, which would account for the pain of the fibers in the muscles. Right? Now over here, we can't produce cholesterol because our cortisol went up. In a stressful reaction where you're trying to run from a bear, your body is not thinking about reproducing. Right? It's thinking about short-term, oh my God, what do I got to do to stay alive? Fists up, eyes dilated, blood to the arms and legs, let's run, right? It's not thinking about, getting down with the old woman and making babies. No, it's not at all. It's saying, I need to not make cholesterol. Now, on top of that, what happens if somebody's on a statin drug, right? All of this is in the toilet. So Decreased cholesterol production means decreased progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. So in women, you're going to experience infertility, menstrual stuff. You're going to have earlier menopause, amenorrhea, dysmenorrhea, miscarriage. You can't make a baby if you're not eating good food and if you're poisoning yourselves. Women are going to think, oh, I'm just cursed. I can't make a baby. But they're really poisoning themselves and starving themselves at the same time. And their body says, no, I can't make another human while you're doing this. Women experience this. Men experience erectile dysfunction. And then they go get a 5-gallon jug of Viagra and or Cialis, which then leads to heart disease. Then you've got antibody production, goes in the toilet because you don't have any progesterone or testosterone, so all your antibodies get screwed up. The lining of your lungs goes in the toilet, and your allergies and asthma take off. Now your chronic inflammation, since the function of your body is now decreased, yeast will lead to rheumatoid arthritis. Casein will lead to diabetes type 1. Gluten will lead to leaky gut or celiac or Hashimoto's or thyroiditis. And then similar things in the large intestine tissue sloughs off on the left side of the body. It's ulcerative colitis. If it's not quite sloughing off yet, but it's cobblestone appearance, they call that Crohn's disease. Then all your autoimmune system, autoimmune diseases that we talk about in the evil parents of autoimmunity, which are all located on BitChute, Rumble, Vimeo, and Facebook. Ankylosing spondylitis, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus erythematosus, just called lupus by some people, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, which are also toxicity problems from what? Flu shots, vaccines, mercury, aluminum, right? Aspartame, artificial stuff, Diet Coke, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. Compare your your parents and your aunts and uncles with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and I guarantee you some of those things, those flus and the flu shots and the bad food, they have that in common. Alzheimer's, it can also be called diabetes type 3 because it's intimately linked to sugar intake. You also have scleroderma and psoriasis. No, the world over, like insulin resistance is the #1 problem on earth right now, other than abortion. But insulin resistance and Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's is called diabetes type 3. I don't know if you knew that or not. So, in review, increased stress, decreased left brain. Your left brain goes down. That's where your immune system primarily is located. So your left brain goes down because you're thinking fear, you're thinking hate, you're thinking lies, you're thinking all the stuff in the media. You're arguing with people you don't know on Facebook about nonsense because they're never going to listen to you anyway because they're indoctrinated, medicated, fluoridated, glyphosated, irradiated, right? So that increases your infections, your colds, your flus, your cancers, all because this stress thing kicked in and never shut off, right? So that would decrease your core temperature because your blood is going to your upper and your lower extremities for you to throw down and run from that bear. So you're not thinking, think about it, you're running from a bear, you're not thinking about digesting your food. That's why it's impossible that people say, oh, I got heartburn because I'm stressed out. When you're in a stressed environment, your body's not making hydrochloric acid. They lied to you. They said it was just stress related. Oh, here, take this antacid. Your body can't make hydrochloric acid when you're in a stress response. All diseases above affect women. All, not some, all. Did you hear me? All. All of these black boxes affect women more, primarily due to right brain sympathetic nervous system, yet the women live longer than men. Done. Does that make sense? I can tell this is just a barn burner. You guys are just... Does that make sense? Is that the most logical, sensible 10 minutes of somebody explaining the garbage that we've all been taught in the healthcare system? Did anybody get any revelation from that? Hold on, let me ask this. Did anybody in here look at that chart and go, that's me? How many of you? Raise your hands. Whoa. Hold on. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got 20 people in here, 15 people in here. Isn't that simple? You're never going to hear this anywhere else. You're never going to hear this. I can assure you your endocrinologist and your gastroenterologist are not going to tell you this. So this is very valuable information. You guys need to share this and tell people that there's a new sheriff in town and that we know what's up. We know what's going on and we know how to fix it. And it's not complicated. And your body is smarter than your specialist. If you will stop poisoning it and stop trying to kill it with injections and scalpels. Your body can fix anything. Your body can fix biological warfare if you just let it ahead of time. Now, I'm not saying inject it past all of your defenses and just willy-nilly go out there and bow down and take a shot. What I'm saying is, if there's something in your environment, if your immune system's up, nothing's getting through. Nothing's getting through. And if your faith is up, I can assure you, nothing is getting through. Faith and fear, or love and fear, you allow fear to rule long-term, and that is what you will experience. I can assure you. It is a physiological, biological certainty that if you allow fear in the form of stress, in the form of chemical, emotional, or structural stuff to do you in every day, that chart right there will be you. Oh, put that chart back up again, Jonathan. I just thought of something else. And by talking about, see, this is your, I don't know if people can see that real well, but this would be where your thyroid is, right? Mumps, your parotid gland, your lungs, your stomach, or I'm sorry, your stomach's right here. Your liver's over here. Your spleen's right here. This is your ascending colon, transverse, descending sigmoid. So this would be Crohn's disease. This would be irritable bowel or ulcerative colitis. I meant to point some things out there. Notice, too, that you don't find too many things in the arms and the legs. Why is that? The only stuff you got is your joints. All of your blood, your nerves, your lymph nodes, they're clearing themselves out regularly. Where does stuff build up? Joints. What's inflammation of the joints called again? Come on. Arthritis, right? So if we adjust shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, hips, knees, ankles, toes, neck, back, hips, all of it, guess what happens to your joints? Blood flow comes, gets good stuff in to rebuild the joints, gets bad stuff out so it can't poison it anymore. That's the power of what we do. Huge. So I wanted to point out some more things right there. These are your small intestines here. This is your spinal cord here. It's going around the back. Does that make sense? All right. Yes, Jane, hold on. We need a, I'll just repeat the question.
Digestion, does it go from the right side to the left side or from the left side to the right side?
Digestion goes to the stomach, then it goes to the small intestine here, and then it comes over here first, goes up, left, down, out.
So it
Goes to the right side. Oh, put that back up real quick, Jonathan, if you would, please. So here's your esophagus. You swallow it, goes into your stomach. Takes a little detour over this way. Stomach empties into the small intestines here, and then from there, small intestines funnel it into the large intestine here, and then it goes up on the right, over, down on the left, out. What's the question was, what's the direction of digestion? Did that answer? Okay. What else we got? Jane. Oh, another question, Jane. Yeah, let's do this so that we can hear, so that she's on tape. We'll do a couple quick questions here.
real concern for, is that on?
Yes.
It's real concern for those in the military. I mean, what do these poor men and women that are in seriously stressful situations, just.
That's, yeah. Military, I mean, I like to, yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of it. They're already property of the U.S. government. They signed on knowing that whatever the government said they had to do, they would do. So it's up to them whether they get out, act crazy, pull a King David, or unless they do something to get kicked out, or they're not going to be able to talk their way out of it. If it does go mandatory, which I hear that it is. But this is a kill shot for the military. Once this goes in the military, we're screwed. I hate to say that, but I mean, this is a genocide thing. This is not good. So the military, what can they do? Change their food, get better, detox stuff out, but I don't know how they'd ever get to a place to detox. Just take hot showers all day? I don't know. It's in your blood. I mean, this is something that's changing you from made in his image to in the image of something completely different. That's why it's called the mark of the beast and not mark of the man, or mark of the car, or mark of the animal. It's called mark of the beast because it's in the image of the beast. The patents say it. The people who made it say it. We all know what it is. What do you do in the military? I have no idea. I don't know. They are in a contract with the U.S. government and their property thereof. So I don't know. Anybody got an idea? What do you do with the military? I have no idea. Fake it until they have lights that can detect it. Something.
Not even, concerning the jab, but just, apart from vaccination, et cetera, when these are people that are potentially in a seriously stressful situation.
Oh. Yeah. This. It takes a special, yeah. You've got to, well, notice that they're mostly men. Men were designed to be in the military because of the left brain, right brain thing that we just went through. That's just the way men work, especially younger men work. As you age, like we talked about with women, testosterone goes down, estrogen goes up. Women, it's the exact opposite. Estrogen goes down, testosterone goes up. I'll prove it to you. When you're first married, man and woman, who's the leader? The man or the woman? Man. Get older. Think about your moms, your dads, your aunts, your uncles. Who's leading now? The male or the female? Who? Female. The female. The mom. It's this. It's the exact role reversal with men and women. I'll prove it to you. Who's running the thermostat? I'll prove it to you. Who's running the thermostat? When you're young, who's running the thermostat? As you age, who runs the thermostat? You follow me? So they were created to be, left-brained, high immune system. So it just depends on their take on stress. How do they handle stress? Are they drinking all the time? Are they, lowering their ability to handle stress? Are they emotionally, So think about it this way. They go through all this stress. The stress leads them to drink. The stress is the emotional thing because they're having to undergo all the structural stress and basic training and, carrying guns and killing people and all this stuff. Then they drink to get out from under it. So there's a chemical stress, right? And then they're depressed or they're tired the next day and the next week and they can't perform their job. So now they're emotionally stressed, structurally stressed, and chemically stressed all at once. It's a ticking time bomb, which is why here, Land of the Free, Home of the Crazed, that one that I originally did a couple years ago, that is dedicated basically to the veterans because the veterans are getting hosed by all of this. And the veterans, most of the veterans who were committing suicide years ago were veterans who had never seen combat. So where was the suicide coming from? That's what'll mess you up. That's what'll mess you up when you figure that out. I don't know. I love the veterans. I love our cops and our firefighters and veterans, but you gotta stand up at some point and just maybe get out. But they've got you by the cojones because now there's your pension and there's your pay and there's all this, and we've got people here who are work in federal stuff and they're wondering what to do. You got to stand up. Get you and your buddies to stand up and say we're not doing it. Is it worth your job? Is it worth your paycheck to go? You know what? I'll go do something else. I've had 48 jobs in my life. I will go do something else. No problem. I can dig holes. I can paint houses. I can do anything. You don't have to just be in that one job. But people get into a situation where they have now a certain lifestyle, or they have a certain mortgage payment, or they have a certain number of cars in the driveway to try to keep up with people that they don't like or something. And now it's up to you what's important. So you all have to figure out what's important, including the military people. What else we got? I don't know. That's a good question. It's a lot of stress. What else? Jacqueline, what do you think about all this nonsense?
See it every day.
You see it every day?
Yep.
How's that?
Sucks. I'm a mouthpiece. I have to do what I'm told.
So you see stuff like this every day?
Yep.
And well, we'll leave that out. She works in a field, in a healthcare setting. So is everything there that I said true or false? Am I way off?
No, 100% true.
100% true? What would you say is the most poignant thing that you saw?
Just the stress leading to all that stuff. Just they leave out that main part.
Mm-hmm.
They just drug everything.
Yeah,
So,
drug and everything. But you have to figure out, is it chemical, is it emotional, is it structural? How do you fix the stress? How do you fix it, right? What else we got? We'll sign off here. One more question. One more question or one more observation? Ashley, what'd you figure out?
You always pick me.
I do. I just always, because you're always right in the middle. Because you're always right in the middle.
I really liked your 10-minute stress chart. Like that was amazing, the 10-minute stress chart, and bravo for keeping it under 10 minutes.
Yep. Thank you.
But yeah, no, it was really nice to see it mapped out like that, because a lot of times, like, I know that, but it's nice to see it as a whole.
Very good.
So yeah, that was
See?
nice.
See, I put you on the spot and you pulled through. Look at that.
Every time, baby.
Every time. All right, so let's sign off. Let's get out of here. So, and we got I got to give some stuff away. Now, Dr. Brett Spradlin. Oh, next week is Land of the Free, Home of the Crazed, right? Yes. Next week. That is the I just looked at the thing. 23rd. August 23rd. Land of the Free, Home of the Crazed. It's not just about veterans. It's not just about mental stuff. We're going to tie in a lot of the anxiety, the depression, all the stuff, all the reason that all your kids are on Adderall and Vyvanse. You want to see this. And, I don't have kids? Okay, great. Then you have nieces and nephews, and you pay for taxes in your place of where you live for the schools that are killing your kids. So you should probably get involved and figure out how this works. So we'll see you next week. And I am Dr. Brett Spradlin. Check us out, Vimeo, Rumble, BitChute, all the other places except YouTube. Facebook. Oh, and another announcement. We made a separate Facebook page called Wellness Workshops that is linked in our Facebook, in Divine Design Natural Health Facebook profile page, so that we're putting all of our videos over on that channel. So that is simply dedicated for the videos in case they take us down, because they're going to eventually. They kill that one, we pop up another one. They kill that one, we pop up another one, so they can't take down the Divine Design Natural Health page. Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Wellness Workshops. It's got the same logo. No, it's got a different logo, actually. It's got this logo. Look at that. So this is another branding of the Divine Design Natural Health thing we're doing. It's a separate little venture with Wellness Workshops. It's going to be made into modules, online, password protected. It will all be for patients. They will be required to complete the 2-hour video or whatever it is and take a test in the near future, probably around Q1 of next year. We're looking to do that. So that's another little brainchild of Amanda there. Light bulb deal. Yes. Yes. Gifted artiste. So yeah, that's our Wellness Workshops page on Facebook, which is tied directly to our Divine Design Natural Health Wealth thing. So make sure to like that, follow it, send it, share it, fax it, rename it, copy it, whatever you do. Dr. Brett Spradlin, Divine Design Natural Health. We are out of here. Thank you very much.